Good morning, everyone. We should be starting our session in the next 1 minute. Thank you.
You're muted at the moment.
Good day, everyone. And thank you for joining us today on this webinar, the latest development in application security, brought to you by Procom Technologies in collaboration with Radware. We are excited to have you with us as we explore the latest developments in application security. For those of you who are new to us, Procom Technologies is one of the leading cyber security systems integrator, and we are also a managed security services provider. We actually fully run a 24/7 security operations center, helping organizations to monitor, detect, and respond to cyber security threats in real time. And as a trusted partner of Radware, we actually bring solutions that will obviously help in protecting your organizations and improving your security posture. What do we have today in terms of our agenda? We obviously have Radware presenting to us. Also, we actually have a live demo and end up with a Q&A session at the end. Without further ado, let me actually introduce John Green from Radware to take it over from here. Over to you, John. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, hi, everyone. My name is John Green, sales engineer. We will also be joined later on by my colleague, Felix Commander, and he will be taking us through the demonstration of the technology. Okay. So without further ado, let me start the presentation. So I'm going to speak to you today about the latest developments in application security. But before we go into that, a little bit of a background. So I'm at a company called Radware. We are a cybersecurity vendor that has been in the market for the past 20 or so years. We are the leaders in what we do if it comes to DDoS, application security, application delivery controllers, and that is echoed by the analysts and the analyst reports that you are more than welcome to go and have a look at. We also have some OEM partners who white box us, well, that resell our solutions to their customers. Some names there like Cisco and Checkpoint, who you may recognize, that trust us to provide security to their customers as well. We also have some public cloud partnerships in place with AWS and Azure. Okay, so let's start off with the challenges in securing the modern applications that we have today. So we had a look at what drives CISOs in today's world of application security. There is a CISO 2024-2025 report. And from this report, what we actually took from that is essentially these 4 key pillars that we identified. So the first is the shifting threat landscape. The biggest headache for CISOs is the development of new attack tools that are constantly being brought out and constantly being optimized by attackers. We're also seeing a huge uptake in regulatory requirements. So having, if you have an application that has your customers' personal private information, you need to comply to certain regulations. And just being, if you have any application, any account, you know that almost all applications require that information. Recently in South Africa, we had a cybersecurity event called IT Web, and when I was there, I met a few delegates, and it was actually surprising how many were actually compliance officers from certain countries. So just from certain companies. So a lot of companies there's a huge uptake in getting headcounts to make sure that these regulatory requirements are being adhered to. The third challenge that we see a lot from customers is the hybrid cloud deployments. So a lot of companies, for the sake of high availability and redundancy, are utilizing public cloud and maybe a mixture of on-premise environments, public cloud environments, as well as private cloud environments, such as co-located data centers where you can host your environments. And this creates a lot more overhead when it comes to the number of different solutions you need to manage and monitor. And then the fourth step in there is the cybersecurity staff skill and shortages. So getting the right people to work to secure your application environment and work to secure your organization is getting a lot more scarce to find not only to find people for the job, but to find the right people for the job. And only relying on internal resources is becoming quite a challenge. Okay, so with the shifting threat landscape, this was a report that our internal threat research team has come out with, and this is based on our cloud landscape, where we took this from our cloud network, where we see a massive rise in the amount of malicious web and API transactions. So just showing you that attackers are trying more and more often to penetrate applications than ever before. We also see a sharp increase in the amount of bot transactions. So this tells us that attackers are starting to automate their attacks and use automated tools and services to run these attacks. As you know, bots don't have human fatigue. They don't need to feed them. They don't need to sleep. So it's a lot easier for these attackers to utilize these bots to run these attacks. And the most shocking one is the very sharp, very, very high rise in the amounts of web DDoS attacks. So these are DDoS attacks aimed at encrypted applications, is becoming a lot more, well, we can see it's a lot more as well. So with applications, we can see security threats are going beyond the OWASP top 10 for application protection. OWASP has also now got a top 10 API security risks that we need to consider. They have a list for the top 21 automated threats for bots. They also have a OWASP top 10 client-side security risk. And even a newer one, which isn't on this list because it only came out in November 2024, is the OWASP top 10 for LLMs, so for AI. And this is now historically, we only had to care about the OWASP top 10 application attacks. Now we have a lot more considerations when we actually have applications that need protecting. And we can see that signature-based protection is no longer enough. So basically, what I mean by that is we cannot protect applications from known attacks anymore. All right, so a signature, an existing signature is there to protect against an attack vector that we know of. And we can see from the last quarter of 2022, we see the number of blocked events versus which of those events were known signatures. The gap is ever increasing, and this correlates to when generative AI started to becoming a lot more mainstream. So not having behavioral protections in your environment can leave you open to a lot of will leave a lot of attack surface open. And attackers, they have it now easier than ever. So previously, if you wanted an attack tool, what you needed to do is you needed to go onto the dark web, and from the dark web, try and find some sort of a tool to run an attack. And maybe this will be like a single web application attack or a single type of vector for DDoS. But now attackers can just go to a publicly known website called GitHub. I'm sure many of you on this call are familiar with the website GitHub, and you can download one of these tools. There's a various amount, but let's just have a look here at DDoS. This is a single tool with 56 different methods of attack that an attacker can run. Okay, so from a single tool, you can run DDoS attacks, you can run bot attacks, you can run web attacks. And the most fascinating to me is that these attack tools have built-in bypass mechanisms for common application defenses. So they have figured out all these common protections and being able to basically just bypass them as well. And these attack tools, they are supported. So if you actually go after this call, go to github.com and look at DDoS, you'll see you can report if there's a bug, and the developers will patch that bug, and in the next release, make sure that it's up and ready to attack again, which is quite scary. And for the more advanced attackers, they also started to use AI to create automated attacks. So on the left window there, we have generative AI tools such as Wolf GPT and XXX GPT. So just like developers use ChatGPT to maybe automate some code writing, attackers are doing the exact same thing just for nefarious reasons. So you can go to one of these AI tools, say, please write me a script to penetrate this and this site, and it will spit out an attack script for you to run against these sites, which are actually very effective as well. We can also see that known current DDoS tools on the market, such as StressACat, is also utilizing AI. So they have a Telegram channel, and on the Telegram channel, they brought out a video that showcased their new AI capabilities within the tool, which is able to bypass capture by not just bypassing, but solving the captures with their DDoS tool. So if you use their tool to run an attack, you can bypass any capture that gets presented to it. Okay. And the third pane over here is researchers used GPT-4 based large language model to start learning. They use it to learn the CVE exploits, which is publicly available on the internet. Anyone can go and look at those CVEs. So they got the AI to learn that and then start running attacks based on it. And you can see that the amount of the success rate that they had specifically to run these attacks is quite high. So these attackers are starting to utilize AI to run their attacks. So if we are not using AI to defend ourselves, we are going to be left behind in the dust. Okay. And if we do get breached, there was a report that came out last year from IBM showcasing the cost of your average data breach. So it differs from sector to sector, but the global average is around $4.9 million per incident. But what else they stated in that that report is that the average saving by implementing an AI-driven security is about $2.2 million per event as well. So investing in a tool that has AI capabilities to protect you will have some will have benefits in the long run for you. All right. So the biggest driver of business nowadays is applications. That is from any sector, from banking to medical to any different type of vertical. We can see that applications are the biggest business driver. So in order to expand the business, you need more applications. When you have more of these apps, now you need to secure more of them. And then you have more hosting environments that you need to consider if it's going to be on-prem in cloud. And that's more access points for the attackers. And with this comes more information, such as your customer information and other information you need to secure with a lot more vectors. So these bring new challenges. So what is needed to actually stay ahead of these attackers? So first is intelligent security. You need to be able to protect your applications with the help of AI to be able to AI algorithms that know your application's traffic. You then need an integrated platform that can protect against all different types of threats and not silo your protection, because these attackers are not siloing their attacks. We then need to protect against all different environments and entry points. If it's hosted locally, if it's hosted in the cloud, if it's hosted at a friend's data center, we need to ensure that it is all being protected. Okay. And then we need, on top of that, an expert team to assist us with these protections. Okay. And this will lower that mean time to resolution that will keep up business continuity. So at Radware, we have we approach this with what we call the 360-degree approach. So at the core of your organization, you have your applications. These applications can be mobile applications, web applications, or APIs. Then they need to be hosted somewhere. They can be hosted locally, public cloud, private cloud. It doesn't matter where it's hosted. We can protect that application for you. We then there's attackers that are trying to act maliciously to those applications. They can be trying with web-based attacks, with API attacks, AI-based attacks, DDoS, known bad actors, account takeover, bot attacks. And then from a single solution, we can provide protection from all those different verticals, or from all those different attack sources. And this will allow us to be completely secure and ensure that there's no gaps left open for these different types of attackers. So with our cloud web application firewall solution, we are also it is powered by what we call Radware Epic AI. All right, so doesn't matter your enforcement point where it's hosted, we can protect it. And then the first thing is real-time protection engines. So we have, from a single solution, all these real-time protection engines, which is bolstered by our AI engine. All right, which means that with the learning and the protection, everything is done with AI. We then have cross-platform fabric AI component that can correlate different events depending on which real-time protection engine, well, it doesn't matter which engine actually detects the intrusion. We can now start feeding that to, or correlating those events and providing preemptive protection from known attackers. Also, with our AI, we can enable your SOC by providing better understanding of the attack and actually utilizing AI to further empower the SOC team to understand what they are seeing with advanced analytics. Okay. So like I said, real-time protection engines that we have is we have a WAF, obviously, with our Cloud WAF, and this has a automatic policy protection module that can learn your application traffic, and it allows you to have that next level of protection by knowing exactly what the good traffic is so that we can create a tight security policy and block against the zero-day and AI attacks. We can provide from the same solution API protection, protect against attacks on the API surface. We also have a bot management solution from the same platform, and this there's a reason we call it a bot management solution and not an anti-bot solution, and that is because we have the ability to identify what a good bot is versus what a bad bot is, and provide mitigation from those bots, even if it's the most basic bots to the most advanced bots which act like humans. We can provide client-side protection, which means protection between the client's browser and third-party services, which is a hard requirement if your application has payment card information and you need to be PCI DSS 4.0 compliant. We have account takeover protection to ensure of your customers' data doesn't get leaked, and most important, web DDoS protection to stop against very high rate DDoS attacks in real time. Okay, so let's speak a little bit more about API security, right? So with API security, we see a few challenges, and these challenges is with most of our customers that we speak to. So the first is visibility. To be able to protect the APIs, we need to know what endpoints can be accessed and what information can be used on those endpoints. And if we don't know what that is, that's a visibility risk. And we see that with a lot of customers not having their full repertoire of APIs and endpoint schemas. The next is AI-based attacks. A lot of attackers can, using artificial intelligence, looks completely legitimate, and it makes it a lot more difficult to protect against. The next is the lack of automation. A lot of AI protection solutions out there requires a lot of manual configurations and documentation. The next is runtime protection, and maybe most of the one important is a lot of organizations don't have that runtime protection for when APIs get abused, and that is a huge challenge for them. And then the last one is a multi-layered protection. So most customers which have an API solution maybe only check for, let's just say, authorization, but they don't check for the payload that comes through if there's malicious traffic, or they don't have, if that API gets DDoS, they have nothing to do with nothing to protect them against. And it's quite important to protect APIs, because there is the existence of pure web applications is becoming a lot less common today. We are seeing a lot more pure API-based applications. We're seeing a lot more mobile apps, specifically around Africa, which use APIs. And the most common application on the internet today is hybrid apps, which is 80% of applications are both web and API applications. And these API attacks that we need to look out for is first the embedded attacks. So like I mentioned earlier, attackers, what they like to do is embed SQL injections inside of these APIs. Bypassing authentication is quite a big one as well, and exploiting insecure endpoints, like I said, and that leads back to that lack of documentation. Business logic attacks is also quite common that we see in the most successful type of API attack, and that goes down to API call manipulation. If it's not being monitored successfully, it is quite easy to manipulate an API call, and we've seen this happen on large companies. Like there's a public case study about Uber where this happened to, as well as Subaru, two big names which are public use case, well, public information where you can go see this about the attacks that they saw, as well as HTTP DDoS attacks. I mean, a API is a web call and is therefore susceptible to these web DDoS attacks. So here we can provide you with a full OS top 10 API security risk protection for your environment. We can provide API discovery, business logic attack protection, complete schema enforcement to ensure that the schema is adhered to when API calls get made. We can preemptively protect your APIs with our AI-based correlation protection engine, and also with the complete solution, protect against API DDoS attacks from a single solution. Okay. So one of the nice differentiators that we have is our discovery, our API discovery feature that we have. So how this works is that we have an API. The API traffic will run through the Cloud WAF and go towards the designated endpoint. When it does that, our system discovers the entirety of the API. So that means the path, header, method, parameter, body, etc. And then it writes that into a schema file for you. So even if you didn't have documentation beforehand, you can now download that document, that schema file, if you wish to keep that for record keeping sake or whatever you might be. But the fact that it's on the WAF is quite important to then be able to provide schema enforcement against against those API attacks, and to stop abuse. And then with that schema file, we can also do continuous AI-based business logic learning. Okay. And the reason for business logic security is, and the need for it, or exactly how it works, is that we have a look at the flow and the real-time transactions of the API. So what gets accessed first, what gets accessed second, etc. And then from that, we can generate a real-time policy and business logic rules with the lowest amount of false positives because of the learning algorithm that exists there. And with that, we can detect real-time business logic attacks as they occur, and stop against bad act, and block. We can also block on bad actors, not only on just the IP address, because we know that that proxies exist, so we can do it on a higher level, like an authorization token or a JWT. Okay. And here's an example of that API Sequence Explorer from our algorithm. As you can see, it has a look at the flow, how it's expected to work, so that if someone tries to bypass or change any characters or any parameters within that API before they will then be blocked because it doesn't follow that flow. It'll be seen as a new API call and therefore be dropped. Okay. We then have to look, be considerate of these new web DDoS tsunami attacks. So a few years ago, about 2 years ago, in East and West Africa, there was an attack on government infrastructure and banking from a group called Anonymous Sudan. And the type of attack that they were running is something called a web DDoS tsunami attack. So it's very high in requests per second, and all of these requests are encrypted. So when they send their DDoS attacks to the applications, they have to first be decrypted before they get inspected. And when they get inspected, there's no argument there that says it's a invalidation. So no OS top 10, nothing goes against OS top 10, and they get let through. And this is why they were so successful within their attacks. So what you need to protect against these is a real-time engine that's powered by algorithms to be able to learn what legitimate traffic looks like, and can create a real-time signature when there is a threat to your organization, and protect you against the entire range, layer 3, 4, and layer 7 DDoS attacks aimed at your infrastructure, and not only just aimed at your application, well, your web applications, but your API applications as well. And this also needs to be hands-free, so done without anyone being needing to do any manual configuration. And here's an example of how devastating these attacks can be. This attack was from a bank in Europe. As you can see, 14.6 million requests per second sent to their application. And it was a few days long. This campaign is what we call it. And the longest wave was between 10 to 20 hours. And we were able to generate a signature which had 27 different parameters to match only that attack traffic of the attackers, while legitimate traffic was allowed through. Okay. So in summary, hackers are starting to use AI tools and being able to run these zero-day attacks. And with that, these attacks are becoming a lot more disruptive to organizations and a lot more persistent and aggressive. So standard protections are not going to be able to outsmart these AIs. And so what we need is to fight AI with AI. All right. So your solution that you needs to protect all different enforcement points, which is powered by AI mitigation engines that can cross-correlate events and data feeds and have expert protections, managed services to protect your environment. Okay. So again, that's where we come in with our 360-degree approach for protecting your applications, no matter where it is, no matter what the attack vector, we can cover you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John, for the presentation.
Only a pleasure.
Is Felix going to do a demo?
Are there any? Well, let's just ask if there's any questions so long. Just want to find out where
if
it
there's
is.
anyone, please, with questions, can post them on the chat window so that they can actually be addressed. So maybe another question that obviously most of customers on this call might be asking is, how is a solution consumed? Is it an on-prem cloud?
Okay, that is a great question. So this is a WAF as a service. All right. So what that means is that it is a service that a cloud service that can be consumed, and it is a pay-as-you-use service. So you don't need to install anything on premise if you're going to use the inline mode. And how it works is on a per application and throughput basis. So let's just say, and why that differs from a physical appliance. So physical appliance, you might need to buy a very large device because you need to buy a very large device because you have to consider what the consumption will be in, let's just say, 3 years' time. So maybe today you have one application, but in 3 years' time, you're going to have 10 applications. So now you must purchase for those 10. Now, with our solution, you can start off with one application and 10 megs per second. And as you grow, you can then add more applications and more bandwidth to your environment that will allow you to grow and scale. So it's a service that you can use for that.
Oh, okay. Thanks, John, for that. In terms of some organizations, maybe that are heavily regulated, I know maybe, for example, banks and so forth in maintaining compliance with standards like PCI DSS and so forth. How does Radway come in to obviously assist such organizations for compliance?
Okay, so we have one of the largest lists of compliances when it comes to first of all, the solution is PCI DSS 4.1 compliant. We GDPR compliant. We have a lot of ISO compliances. So when it comes to these compliances, we do adhere to a lot of them. So we don't process any legitimate information on the platform, such as usernames, passwords, etc. We don't have a look at any of the legit traffic. The only things we actually log is the security events. So we are quite compliant, and I'm sure with these compliance regulators, we can showcase that and come to a solution. We do have a lot of financial institutions on the platform as well, so it should not be an issue.
Oh, okay. Then for customers that are interested in maybe having trials, are those actually available in terms of trials,
Yes,
POCs, and so forth?
100%. We do provide free POCs, so for any customer that wants to POC this, we can definitely do that. The terms are we POC up to 2 applications with 100 megs of traffic for about 30 days. So how that would work is first you upload your certificate to the portal. Once it's been uploaded, then we onboard the application, which takes about 15 to 20 minutes, and then do a DNS change, and then the application is on the solution. We then let it do that learning for about 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the level of traffic, on how much requests come through. And then we do a policy review and move it into blocking mode for the remainder of the time, and provide a nice report of what attacks were seen, what was blocked, etc. Okay, I see my colleague is here and he's ready for the demo. So Felix, if you wouldn't mind sharing and doing the demo for us, it'll be great.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Felix. I work with John as well. I usually cover the East Africa region. So pleasure to meet you all. I will just let me know once you are able to see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool. So I'll just generally begin by the dashboard. So can give you basically all the info that you need just on one screen, and it's a single pane of glass. You can be able to see, for example, if you've already enabled the CDN and you have application attack distribution, this is something that you can be able to see. You can also set a time limit. Maybe you want to see for the past 1 month what has been able to be captured on the portal. And this is for all your applications. You can see the total number of applications that that has been onboarded and what that maps to as part of OWASP top 10. Additionally, something else that you can also do, for example, in a particular graph, you can modify it. Like you can do specific filtering per graph. Maybe I want this graph to only show one application for the past 1 month, or for the past 30 days, or whatever, or for the past 1 week. So it will be able to show you that. So this is our dashboard. It actually filled with a lot more info and a lot more widgets, but that maybe time might not allow for me to show them both. However, also it's important to show that we have a website repository, not a website really, but a widget repository. You can be able to add these several other widgets on top of the dashboard, and I think it gives you a lot more info. Also, what we've introduced right now is the AI Doc Expert. So in case you're struggling with anything really, you can just enable it, and you do not know how to do it, you can chat AI Doc Expert instead of going to the PDFs and all of that. You can ask it. It works like generative AI. You can ask it questions. So how do I protection. So you just literally chat it, ask it questions. It does, it's actual tangible AI, and it responds back to you with what you need to do, for example, to enable that. Now, in addition to what we have now, this is the AI doc expert, which searches through all the docs. We also have something that does similar thing, but with security events. So if you are under a security event and you want to know what exactly happened, we have the AI SOC expert. So you can ask the AI SOC expert questions about an attack that has happened. So usually when you open the AI SOC expert, it shows you details of the attack, everything that happened during that specific attack, and then you can also be able to ask it questions. You can also chat it, and it will search through all the incidents that happened all through your traffic, and it will give you these responses as part of generative AI. So I just wanted to start with these two. We can search documentation using Doc Expert and the SOC Expert as well to show how we actually deploy our AI and how helpful it can be. It's actually it's usable AI, right? It's not AI for the sake of AI. So I just now want to move into simulating a few attacks. So I just want to do maybe 3 API types of attacks and then see how we can be able to view them on the portal, this specific attack. So the first one, and I just wanted to do purely API simulations today, if that is fine, because I feel in the emerging trend, we're having API becoming a topic of discussion a lot nowadays. I think it's one of the attack vectors that had a blind spot. A lot of guys are doing APIs without really knowing how to protect them. So the first bit I want to show is the API, how we can prevent brute force, for example, in this case. So I will just successfully log in. So this is the first part for a successful login to the APIs. But remember, these APIs can be used as a way to perform a brute force in this case. So assuming in this instance that you are under some kind of bot attack, and they're trying to do 100 login requests per minute, right? So they're running some type of dictionary into the AI, into the API as part of a brute force attack. So usually if you are not using this API protection, and remember, this is almost being offered as a 360-degree coverage. So you still have APIs, but you still want to prevent people from misusing your APIs. So you can be able to do schema enforcement as part of this APIs to be able to limit how many times an endpoint can be called, for example. So in this case, this is the API auth endpoint that essentially is going to be used to help guys log in, right? So you can see on the parameters that we set for authentication is really wrong user. So this is really a wrong username password. So I just want to start with the first environment, which is the bypass environment, which does not have any kind of WAF or API protection behind it. And I'm just making calls, right? So it's 101 unauthorized. So of course it doesn't log in because the username password are wrong. But one thing that I wanted to note for this is that no matter how many times I make this call, I am not blocked, right? So I can go on, I can do this perpetually up to tomorrow. That is, if I do not have any kind of protections. So this one would be much more dangerous if it's using a bot, for example, because the bot will maybe call thousands of username passwords. And maybe if it's a dictionary attack, maybe one of those username passwords might be successful and you will be, you probably have some account takeover or something like that. Now, how you want to prevent that is I want to limit that if you're calling the API or the endpoint, you cannot call it more than 5 times in this case. So on the protected environment, I'll try call this. That is the first time. That is the second time, third, fourth, fifth. By the time you get to the 6th time, now you get a block page. So this kind of activity will not be allowed to happen more than 5 times in this particular case. And you can take this event ID. So I can just go to the, now you're sitting in the SOC and you want to investigate exactly what happened during this incident. You'll just go to the portal, you take the event ID and enter it there as part of the transaction ID and apply. So once you do that, it will show you details of exactly what was happening. So it comes, of course, as an API security violation, and it shows you exactly the reason why. So it shows you that the number of requests that detected was 6, while you're limiting this resource to only do 5 requests per minute. So now, how you set that, I just wanted to show you how that is set. So on the API protection part, also some things that we do is also for documented and undocumented APIs. So if you do have documented APIs, you will upload the Open API file. This is a Swagger file. It can be in YAML format, it can be in JSON format, but you can still upload it here. But there are those maybe customers or maybe in particular APIs, you do not have the full documentation for it. And that is now where we support the API discovery. API discovery is still important because even if you have the original Open API file, these APIs might also change, right? Maybe tomorrow some DevOps workflow has already run and a new endpoint has come up. So you'd want this to be done consistently so that you can now also adjust and augment your endpoints catalog. So this shows all the endpoints catalog, and it will be showing the origin from where they came, right? So if, for example, this API cut, came as part of the Open API file. So the Open API file was already available, you uploaded it and it gave you this. But a lot of the other endpoints have come here via API discovery. Like it was discovered, it was automatically discovered, and you also discovered the type of method that were used for it, and even the quarters, right? So how many times was it being called? So you can see these are the methods, get, post, and unlimited quota. So the quota management is what regulates how many times that particular endpoint can be called. So I just wanted to show in this case the API auth. Remember, this is the one that we were attacking for a given period of time. And you can see it's been limited to 5 times per minute. This is what prevents the brute force, in this case, from calling the endpoint more than 5 times. So this is something you can actually regulate as part of the schema enforcement. So first, we can discover the Open API endpoints. Basically cover your blind spots. There are some endpoints that you might have that you do not even know about. Maybe some intern came to your company, created an API and left, right? Nobody knows that it exists. So once you are able to do API discovery, you find out all the endpoints. So if there is an endpoint here that maybe you're unaware about, it could be part of zombie, right? It could be just hanging and someone can use it as an attack vector to deploy something. So this gives you a lot more control with your APIs. And something else that I wanted to do is now how can we prevent embedded attacks? So this is in a case where you are doing a blind SQL injection, but you're using the API as an attack vector. So typical blind SQL, usually the attacker does not really wait for a response from the servers, right? So normal SQL injection, maybe you are expecting some kind of response from the database, right? And you want maybe you want to list all the information that is part of the database, and you can do it as part of an SQL injection. The blind SQL, however, injects some kind of a command the database to make it sleep for a while. So in this case, the blind SQL is making the database sleep for 5 seconds. All right, so it could make the database behave in a weird way. And it will basically, of course, affect all the other queries that the database is getting. So a would-be attacker just wants to disrupt your service. And in this case, they're going to make the database sleep for 5 seconds using that one query. So in this case, it's going to make it sleep for 5 seconds. So you will see using the bypass environment, which is basically not behind any kind of protection. And you can see that the database is responding after 5 seconds. So this is not something you would want, right? Because it will then make your other customers suffer. So what you want to do behind that is you want to prevent it. So in an environment where this has been implemented, it will prevent this part of SQL injection. And of course, you get the event ID. I can go through the same process of investigation. Just go back to the events, security events, and then I can filter this as part of transaction ID. And you can be able to see exactly what happened as part of the SQL. This is a blind SQL, and the reason why this was blocked. And you can see that it was because you sent a kind of request that was found to be malicious, and it was caught by the API security violation. I hope I didn't go too fast. I don't know if there is a question. Hello?
And nothing so far in the chat box.
Oh, in the chat box.
Yeah. And
So,
nothing's there at the moment.
okay. So just in addition to that, I wanted to show something related to business logic attacks. So business logic is quite harder to prevent more than the traditional types of attacks because they are generally genuine traffic. So usually on the other kind of like for the attacks that I've done today, it is something that can be easily picked by a signature, for example, because it is inherently malicious. So in the case of business logic, these are actual requests. So this could be maybe, for example, someone who's trying to do reconnaissance for your APIs. They want to find out how many API endpoints, for example, you have. So they'll just do genuine API calls, but they will look to exploit them in some kind of way. So maybe they'll want to exploit the sequencing. So in this case, you are calling the first endpoint before you call the second, before you call the third. So that is the normal business logic. That is basically how your business flow should be. But a would-be attacker, for example, will call API endpoint 3 without calling the first end, so without calling API 1. So in essence, the WAF could not, a normal WAF cannot see this as a malicious event because it's a genuine call. Like if you look, it's a post method, maybe it already has a host header, it has all the required parameters, and there's nothing malicious in it. But it is exploiting your business logic by calling an endpoint that should not be called before another endpoint is called. So this is a type of a sequencing thing. So I just want to show in terms of the business logic, just some kinds of examples in terms of rules. How do we do the business logic prevention? So growing, and it's well documented on the API top 10, that is on the OWASP top 10 of APIs. A lot of that is related to business logic. So BOLA, BOBPLA, and all of that. So you can be able to see on specific API endpoints. You can, for example, view the rules. What number of active rules are active? And for us, we have the business logic sitting under the API security module, and it will show you the rule types that have been created and the status. So it is it's an autonomous machine. So customer does not have to sit to define any of these policies. It's automatically learned, and it sets them into either block or report. And we also give a confidence score. So for example, in this case, you can see that we received more than 2,000 transactions that are matching this rule, and no, we consider it as a steady. So we can either have the business logic rules created as part of a sequencing rule. So the sequencing rule is just what I've defined, like one endpoint needs to be called before another endpoint is called. So you're sequencing. Basically, you have to follow that specific sequence before you are bound to be a normal call. We also have rules that are related to error rate. So for example, if you are calling a specific endpoint and you're always getting errors, so you're always getting maybe error 4.4, error 4.3, always. So we count the number of errors you've been getting, and we can even do this per actor, right? So once we get that you're always getting an error when going to that endpoint, so it basically means that you are doing something funny, right? Because you do not know the endpoint you're calling. So maybe you're using some kind of tool to discover something. So we can follow error rate, and we can also do it per actor. We can also do something we call cardinality. So in terms of cardinality now, we limit, maybe one actor can only make one query, or in the query they're making, they can only call one field or two fields, for example. So that cardinality kind of restricts that user in the number of endpoints they can actually call. So this prevents things like, for example, if you log in as user 1 and you are only able to see the account number for user 1, then the business logic would prevent you from seeing the account information for user 2, for example. So cardinality helps with such kind of things. And no need to worry. Actually, this one, for any type of deployment, the only thing really that you need to do, very minimal interaction with it. You just set it to block and report, or you can even put it as report only. Maybe it's an initial instance when you're starting. And you can also set the actor IDs. Maybe you want to have two ways of how do you identify an actor, for example. So in this case, you take the source IP and the authorization header, and the learning sensitivity. Of course, you can start with low and all of that. But by and large, it is very minimal configuration from the customer or from the operator or whoever. And I can just show you Sequence Explorer. So this will show you what I was talking about in terms of sequencing and the sequence rules. So it will show you what endpoint was called before the other, for example, and how much confidence do we have in it. So I think this is important to show because it does cover the API part. And I just did the first part of how can we identify actually malicious API calls, and how can we prevent them. So we do all of that. And the second part I wanted to show, and which I've just shown right now, is the business logic, which is now where how can we identify requests, even though they do appear to be legitimate, they could be malicious in terms of their intent. So they could be having some malicious intent as part of business logic. So just the two parts and the rising threats that we are currently now seeing in terms of APIs. So traditionally known API calls, and the traffic is malicious. Okay, that's fine, and we can catch that. The second bit is malicious requests that actually appears legitimate. So they could be appearing as legitimate, but could be having some malicious intent. So that is where the business logic part comes in. And you'll be able to see some interesting flows here as well in terms of which endpoint is called before the other one and how many transactions were received for that particular flow and what methods are being used. So see, in this case, they did a get. The first call was the get user ID, and they did a get user ID addresses, and these are more than 3,000 transactions. And then another 856 that called that did the post, and then did put, and then did delete, right? Delete customer addresses and 856. So it's a sequence, basically. We're building a sequence, and of course, takes time. It's an always learning machine. So it always keeps learning and blowing up a sequence as well. I don't know if there is a question. If you want, you can answer. Yes.
Okay. In terms of reports, what reports can you pull out from the platform?
So we have quite a number of reports, and you can do PDF, you can do HTML, and you can do them with the specific use case that you have. So you can create a report here, for example, in this instance. I just want to show it like practically. So you can do application protection type of reports. You can do infrastructure protection type of reports, which are basically reporting DDoS, and you can do bot manager reports. So this will give you reports based on bot manager and what it has been able to see. So on application protection, you can either do a PCI DSS type of report for, if you want to seek compliance on PCI DSS, you can have it create a report. You will actually be sent reports that are specific to PCI DSS, or you can also do overview. You just want to do an overview of whatever application, so you can dig down on whatever application you want, and it will give you a report schedule if you want to schedule the reports and the description. So this will show you an overview of everything WAF, right? So you can be able to see how many events you were seeing on WAF, how many of them were blocked, what was the most prevalent attack vector during that time. So it's actually a rich report basically, and gives you a good summary of everything that happened. Similar to the infrastructure protection one. So this one is more inclined towards the types of DDoS attacks, and the bot manager is also more inclined to the bot manager of attacks. So you can do an overview of everything bot, and you can also do a bot analytics kind of report. So there's quite a number of reports on the portal. I hope that answered.
Okay, no, yeah, definitely. That does answer.
And actually for the reports, you can also you can schedule them and receive them after a period of time. Maybe you want to see them every Monday morning. Yes. Or you can also download them on demand. So you can just go to the report and download it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think that brings us to the end of our time. If any more questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay, I see there are no more questions there. I think we will also just run out of time. I'm not so sure if there's anything from you, John and Felix, before we can close the the session?
Yeah, well, just from me, I just want to say thank you, everyone. Really appreciate your attendance today. If you do want to run a POC on this environment, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Felix, and we can. So I know it's like we're showing you here the dashboard of our demo environment, but I'm sure it'll be great to have that dashboard with your own legitimate, tangible traffic, and that can be done free of charge. So please don't hesitate to reach out for a POC.
Okay, thank you so much, John. And
I don't
also
think I
thank
have,
you.
I don't think I have anything to add to really what John has said. I just wanted to add that in the current world, where it's mostly we're facing a lot of attacks that are automated in terms of AI, we are really at the forefront of doing automated protections as well. You cannot keep up with some of these attacks using manual protection. So as Radware, we are really at the forefront of being able to automatically prevent attacks that are being generated by automatic tools, right, by automated tools. And as John said, we're always available to show the proof of value for this, and we're always available to doing POCs as well. So I just wanted to close off by saying that.
Okay, thanks, Felix. Again, thank you everyone for joining this session. So this meeting was recorded, so you get a full webinar recording after the meeting. Should you obviously want a follow-up session, please reach out to the Procom account managers. I see also John, their email addresses for the Radware team, which you can also reach out to them. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.